Facebook. What we're gonna play here?
Add a little love to your packaging with custom heart-shaped roll.
Hey, with a shot by. Yo, what up, fam? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Trying to get this in the screen here. Welcome, 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 team. Got a little Jim Brown for y'all tonight. Got a little couple clips from Instagram we can run through. Hope everybody voted yesterday. If you didn't vote, it was a small vote. Charlotte actually passed the transportation 1% sales tax. I was against it. I ain't even gonna lie, but it passed, and that's what democracy looks like. You vote, and the majority decide. If we can get both sides of the aisle to agree to this, we might be okay in this country. So yeah, I might be paying $8.25 in taxes in Charlotte. That is insane. That is insane. I'm gonna need them to start throwing that in the price. I need to be like New York City, where if it's $50, I'm just paying $50. Y'all already got the tax baked in. I can't see an extra $8 every time I buy something. That's gonna drive me crazy. You know what? Since y'all here, I jump on the Umar first, man. I'm so sick of this narrative right here. Let's start here. Let's start with the Umar clip. Is that in the screen?
If black men were being the men that our community need, would there be a Sukihana or a Sexy Red?
Why not?
They wouldn't
Let's
exist.
elaborate before we. Why
The
not?
circumstances that gave rise to those two beautiful black women having to engage in the art form that they are in order to take care of themselves and their children, those circumstances that gave birth to this reality would have never been allowed to fester. Men control the structure and the set boundaries. We don't do that. And if we're going to say we can at least be responsible for the boys, if we're going to tell black women that we can't do nothing with our boys, what else should she be willing to trust us with?
Do you push that off on? What about the boy's father?
Okay,
You
here's the
push it
problem
to
with
the
that.
community, right?
First
What
of all,
about his
that's-
father?
Okay, that's not our culture. Our culture is collectivism. If you're not there, I got to be. It's that simple. The reasons don't even matter. He ain't there. I got to take his place. I am because we are. We are because I am.
I'm so sick of this pander BS, where basically we just take accountability away from the community. That's all we're doing there, right? Like, he's saying that, hey, The Sukihana's and the Sexy Reds exist because there's a lack of men in the community. And I'll say this. I do think that this version of rap exists because we've lost most of our major leaders. I think that if Dr. King, Malcolm X, Dr. Newton, Fred Hampton, Medgar Eggers, even some South African giants, right? Patrice. I do believe if these guys live, that we don't get the rap version that we have today, because we would have different schools of thought. Which I think is important to the community that we don't have right now. We don't have different schools of thoughts. Black people are pretty much divided either right or left. We're not even divided by religion anymore. When I was growing up, you had, Baptist, AME, Pentecostal, a few Catholics, Muslim, right? And like, we don't even have that anymore because, we don't go to religious organizations anymore. So it's either right or left. So I do believe that if we had different schools of thought, we would have a different black community, right? But one of the things that I hate what Umar is doing right here is, he's like, hey, it's because black men exist that Sukihana and Sexy Red exist. You are never going to take away the oldest profession in the world, right? It's never going to disappear. It's never going to disappear, right? This is the oldest profession in the world is the exchange of a sexual favor for a resource. That will never change, right? What does change is, does the music goes mainstream, right? That is a problem that happened in our community because we don't own the distribution, right? And this goes back to us losing our leaders. I believe if our leaders existed, I believe that there would be a black distribution. Right, I don't believe that there would be two labels that distribute music worldwide, which is basically monopolistic. Right, we'd have our own label that we distribute music. We make our own deals with Spotify, with Apple Music, with Google, with Amazon. Right, we would have that. We don't have that because we did lose all of our leaders. Right, so in one sense, yeah, I mean, if that's what he's referring to, which he's not, right, he's referring to the lack of men with resources, which is a epidemic in the black community based upon the circumstances of supremacy. This is why our best should not be revolutionaries. Absolutely, that dude. That's where I'm at now. That I am 100% with our top men have no business being revolutionaries. None, zero. You don't throw your best intellectual into SEAL Team 6. If a dude is genius in SEAL Team 6, he gonna be at a desk. He'll be in that unit for 6 months on some BS before he gets promoted to, on an admiral track. That's something that they've confused the black community to do. So that's my point of view on that. This is pandering, right? And I got one more clip. I got another conservative clip here, and this is from the Ricky Lake show. And I'm gonna play this one too. And I want y'all to notice something that happens here in this clip. Let me see here.
To just when racist things come up against.
So this is a liberal versus a conservative debate. Ricky Lake. This is probably early 2000s, late 90s.
Is that what you're telling me?
Ken, what do you suggest that he does?
Well, I suggest that what he do is get on with his life. He is probably a very aggressive and talented young man, and if he's not, it's because he's spending a lot of time worrying about something that he can't change.
That's bull. That is bull. That's 100% bull. You sound like no. Maybe I'm not an expert, but I am the average Joe out on the street, and I do come up against this from time and time again. I'm supposed to just give it to coincidence that this happens all the time to all the black people that I know?
Excuse me. There is sexism. There is anti-Semitism.
There's racism.
There is racism. But the question I have of you is...
Now, I'm gonna stop it right there. I'm going to turn it out, right? Because this is the problem that I have with conservatives versus liberals, right? The black liberal is complaining, because that's what liberals do, is complain, right? But the conservative is saying, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. But what does he do though, right? Because the conversation is based on, hey, are black men receiving a fair shake, right? And what does he say? There is sexism. There's anti-Semitism. Then he gets to there's racism after the black guy interjects, right? This is the problem in our community, is that our conservatives, they're afraid to touch the issue, right? They don't want to admit that there's racism because there's cover by throwing on that MAGA hat, right? I would love nothing more than for one of these conservatives, right? Like, what's the kid named Terrence that do all the step and fetch, to go to a stadium full of MAGA people, right? Wearing a blue suit and a blue tie, and he loses that red hat. I would love nothing more than to see how he responds when he loses that uniform. This is the problem of conservatives, right? Yes, we know that all these things exist, right? But you're afraid to touch racism, right? Without saying, well, look, there's sexism, there's anti-Semitism, right? There's no inequality here. There's no fairness here. And I'm playing this video because it's going to go into the Lester Maddox, Jim Brown conversation, right? Whereas if you're going to address an injustice, right? And this is why it's so sad we lost our leaders. Is because if you're going to address an injustice, right? You don't have to address all injustice. When a judge have you in front of him, whatever case he had prior to you, he doesn't say, you know what? You're in here for armed robbery, and the other guy in front of you was in here for murder. So I'm going to throw murder on top of your armed robbery. No, he charges you for what's in front of you. And every time when Black Americans, Afro Americans bring forth an issue, we somehow keep allowing people to easily distract us and say, well, hey, I get that you're suffering from inequalities in this country, right? And there should be affirmative action in this country, right? To basically remedy how America has treated Afro-Americans. That's it. That's what affirmative action was for. It was like, hey, yeah, we've held y'all back. We've been unfair, right? But you have Black conservatives, right? You had feminism. We did this 3 lives ago, where we played the clip where she said what her goal was, right? Was to basically muddy the waters between the civil rights movement and the feminism movement, right? And this is why I tell folks that the ideal of being pro-Black is hard. It's hard today. It's hard to be pro-Black. Because when we close the gates, right, when we circle the wagons, when we say, okay, we're willing to take on the problem that is in front of us, it is someone inside the camp that is letting the enemy in. And oftentimes it's individuals that'll say, you know, y'all see my comment right here. I left this 3 days ago. The young man is the complainer. The older man led with sexism and anti-Semitism versus the topic on hand, right? That's my comment right there, right? Neither one of these men, both of these men are speaking on the Black experience. Neither one has a remedy to the Black experience, right? And you know what? That's what Ricky Lake wants to hear. That's what the United States Senate wants to hear, right? The House. This is what the DNC wants to hear. The RNC don't even give a damn. We've allowed too many individuals to have a voice where there should be none.
So sick and tired of older Blacks, and especially Black politicians, our Black leaders, keep telling me, they've told me this time and time again, that we shall overcome. When are we going to, they've been telling us that for 400 years and we ain't came nowhere. And he's still sitting there telling this. He's still sitting there saying this.
I'm wondering what I'm doing here. In Denver, Colorado, they were singing We Shall Overcome. And you know what? They were singing it against the Bloods and the Crips, the fruit of our own loins. It ain't the Klan killer.
How Ricky Lake got this off during the early 2000s, I don't know. Well, there was no social media, right? Because I don't think there's a lot of Blood and Crips in Denver, Colorado. There's barely any Black people in Denver, Colorado. I agree that, June. We can't afford to be liberal or conservatives, which is why I go ham on both. I do. Oh, you know what? I got one more. Before we hop in here, I got one more. Actually, I got one more. I got one more. And I don't think any of the ladies that came into the room tonight, they actually need to hear this. I got one more.
Get my single sisters that's out there, my single sisters that's in dire need of a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, a perfect example of the woman that is with Mark, Tim, Rick, Bobby, Mike, Monday through Friday. That's not wife material. So it's like, how do you want somebody to take you in and be serious with you when you're not carrying yourself as such? So it's all in how you carry yourself as a woman. Like, you know, you want to be respected. I'm the prize. Like, you want a
Them
man
shoulders
wanna feel,
is just going.
A man just want to feel like they got something that everybody didn't have. It's just all in how you carry yourself. I believe in being classy and poised. Like, I got to carry myself a certain kind of way. Everybody ain't going to say they didn't have that. I ain't going to embarrass my husbands like that. Whoever I'm married, that you got a prize. Because that one ain't nobody could say they had it. So that it's all in how you carry yourself. I'm just keeping it real.
Please.
And we all grown. We got different kind of women again. Some women are like more sexually driven. So it's like, that's their prerogative. This our body. You do what you want. You live how you want. But also understand when it comes to that next phase in life, when you want to settle down and marry, they looking at
that resume
like,
stick with you.
Yeah, it's like you can't run from that.
You said I'm a wife.
Yes.
Get my single sister.
Now, Toya Johnson, which y'all probably remember her because she was married for Lil Wayne back in the day. She's married now. This is her third husband, so definitely not the best person to be talking about this. Then again, she's been married 3 times. Maybe she's the perfect person to talk about being a wife. But one of the reasons why I played this clip right here is one of the things I don't think that a lot of us understand is you're a husband before you sign that paper to say you're a husband. You're a husband before you walk down the aisle, right? A woman is a wife before she ever walks down the aisle. She's a wife before she ever signs a piece of paper. One of the funniest things that I always read is that whenever I see a woman say, that's something I do for my husband. I'm not doing that for a man I just date, right? I know she's not going to ever do that at all. Right? If she tells me that she's saving it for her husband, that ain't something she do at all, right? She is BSing you, right? You are a husband, you are a wife before you ever get married, because part of being a husband or wife is service, right? That's what makes relationship great, is that you have 2 people that are servicing one another, right? And 2 people that don't mind servicing one another. That's what make really good marriages successful. I'm divorced. You know why I'm divorced? Because we didn't service one another, right? We both thought about ourselves. Now, look, if one person thinking about service and the other person thinking about themselves, it's a really good chance that marriage still would not work, right? But one of the things, as a red flag, the quickest red flag to ever notice, if you're out here dating, right, and you hear a woman say, I'm not doing that for a man I date, I'm only going to do that for my husband. Bruh, nothing changes when you sign a sheet of paper. Nothing changes. That is a legal document for the United States government. So you can go to the hospital and they can sign off on your paperwork and you don't have to have a lawyer. That's all. It's just a legal document, right? The ceremony is just the bond that you guys are saying, hey, we're doing our vows in front of witnesses and God, right? So we can't just back out of it. Right. That's the more important part of a marriage. Right. But what you do, right, when you say, like, I'm going to be a husband, or I'm going to be a wife, that happens way before you ever sign that piece of paper. If you're a husband, you're a husband today. Right. Getting married tomorrow won't change that. If you're a wife, you're doing all the wifely duties today. Getting married tomorrow will not change that. All right. It's the biggest red flag. Anytime I hear a woman say, that's something I'm going to do for my husband, bro, I tune out of the conversation because she don't do it. And she know her likelihood of getting married is low, right? So she's able to use that excuse as cover. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to do it for my husband. She's not going to do it at all. All right. Let's hop into Jim Brown and Lester Maddox. No thanks. Don't want this. I'm gonna start this at the 7:35 mark. It's about 13 minutes long. We're gonna let it play just a little bit. Appreciate y'all coming in tonight. We did drop this week's pod. This week's pod dropped yesterday. So if you have a moment, you're in the car tomorrow, hey, make sure you guys go and listen to that. I definitely appreciate y'all leaving some feedback. Appreciate everybody who chimed in on the Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Clark. I see everybody tag those individuals. I'm almost certain that Ryan Clark and Stephen A. Smith are not fans of Black Dads Club this week, which is all good because I'm not fans of them, and I don't hate them. And this is the thing. I think some people took that to be like, "Yo, you guys are taking down, black men." That is not what I'm doing. If y'all know, if you listen to the pod, y'all know I am the black male bail bondsman. I will shoot black men bail, or I'll Dana White a situation so quick because there's enough negative information for us, out there on YouTube, on podcasts. But one of the things that I do hate is when there is an imbalance between how we treat one another versus how we treat others who are not like us. I don't like that, right? If you're going to be hard on brothers, right, you got to be hard on people who are not brothers. And if you don't do that, if every time you do something, like Ryan Clark has an apology Reddit going right now. Like, dude had like 4 apologies in 1 month. And there's a Reddit thread going of Ryan Clark apologies, right? Same thing with Stephen A. Smith, right? He'll go ham, right? Like Shohei Ohtani, he mess up Shohei name and laughs. He got to go apologize the next night. He messes up the Nigerian basketball team names. No one really cares. And I'm not saying that's wrong per se, because in a system, if you are a supremacist or a racist, right, the IST means one who does, right? Scientists, it's one who does. One who does science, right? So if you are a racist or a supremacist, I get it to a certain extent. Doesn't mean that it's right, but I get it. But as a black man, that you shouldn't be that, right? You should be willing to Dana White some stuff. I get if you got to earn a paycheck, right? And if you say, hey, my boss is making me do this, I'm going to respect that. But when you sit here and tell me that you're doing this of your own volition because you're a free man, I ain't really feeling it like that. But let's hop into this real quick. This is the governor of Georgia, and he's speaking to Jim Brown right here. And I know y'all heard me say on the podcast that athletes and entertainers should not be the voices of the community. Jim Brown came from an era where you really couldn't go to college. Syracuse at this time is actually one of the best colleges in the country at the time. I mean, Syracuse is still one of the best colleges in the country, but it especially was when he went to college in the 50s. It was a very highly rated school. Still a highly rated school. And Jim Brown graduated from Syracuse with a degree, Bachelor of Science, right? Which is a pretty tough degree. I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree because I didn't want to get a Bachelor of Science degree when I was going back to school to finish at my late 20s. So very intelligent brother. We know this is Jim Brown, but I think sometimes we see him as the activist. This is an opportunity to see Jim Brown at the gentleman speaking to the governor of Georgia at the time. I can't remember if Lester Maddox is the current governor or not. But here we go.
They like black people, but they like them in a role, you see. They like them when they're very humble and they're very loyal.
I like humble people whether they're white or black, don't you?
I know, but you see...
And loyal people whether they're black or white, don't you?
The white people have the choice.
You don't like loyal
You don't like the black people to have the choice, you see. It's only a matter of choice.
I want black people and white people to have choice.
Well,
you got it all mixed up. You're trying to twist it around.
No, I'm only trying to agree with you. Would you let me finish?
If you'll tell the truth.
Well, I'm only making an analysis, really. It's not a matter of truth or false. What I'm really saying is that basically history has proven that during the days of slavery, whenever a slave was more or less humble and he did what he was told, that he was in good favor with the master. But whenever a slave was too educated, if he became aware of his own self and he wanted to become more than the master wanted him to become, then he was a bad slave. He was then put down because he represented a threat to the already established kind of white society.
Let me say this. Those situations are true with white people and black people. Now, you're just trying to point it at black people only.
Because
but they've been true
that's
throughout
the
the history
subject
of the
we're
world.
talking about.
There's been discrimination. Black against black, black against white, white against black, and white against white. There always has been, there always will be. And you're not going to wipe it out, and Tricky Dick's not going to wipe it out, and the Supreme Court's not going to wipe it out.
You're not addressing it. You're not addressing
Are you
your
referring
answer
to
to
me
my
as
question.
Tricky Dick?
No, you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, you weren't?
Hey, Tone, why should people come to the AI Advantage Summit November 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Well, you know something, Governor? Believe it or not, I don't think that integration should be the number one thrust of our civil rights leaders anyway, because I think what we're really talking about in this country is economic development of black people, because I've found
Economic development of all people.
Well, we're talking about underprivileged
How come just
people.
black people? How come
We're
you don't
talking-
want to do it for
well,
black people? How come you don't want to do it for white people?
I'll tell you why.
Huh?
I'll tell you
How come you
why.
don't do it for everybody? How come
Can
you
I-
always
can I
black
get-
people?
can I
Don't you
get-
talk-
Now remember, this was 1968 when this was done, right? And the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964. Civil rights was going to be for the pushing of blacks to be able to get equality in this country. Now, I forgot the representative name from Texas, right? But remember, that was when she made that video. That was 1964. So I want you to see how on code everybody is, right? He's saying, why are you doing this just for black people? Why not do this for all people, right? Even though the Civil Rights Act was passed, it wasn't passed because black people had it good in this country, right? It was passed because black people were being discriminated against in this country. Matter of fact, it was a literal apartheid, right? But see how on code he is. This is 1968, 4 years later, where he's basically saying, hey, integration, Jim Brown is saying, hey, integration shouldn't be our biggest issue. It should be the economic development of blacks in this country. And this is why I love these old videos, because what it does is it brings a lot of perspective to how many things today that are being screwed up by the Democratic Party and by the blacks that are empowered by the Democratic Party. Because every time you do this, everybody needs to get help, kumbaya, it only goes one way, right? Because right now, when you're trying to fix the immigration issue and you're saying, hey, we should let immigrants in, or you're saying, hey, we should stop immigrants from coming in, this isn't an issue that us as blacks can join in on, right? We're not immigrants. We're here, right? It's not an issue we can join in on. When you start saying, hey, there should be, rent control and these different, that's for everybody, right? When you're saying there should be free transportation, right? You're trying to say, hey, well, guess what, blacks, you can get this too. Whoa, 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 whoa. There's a line here for service, right? And you can't say, well, everybody come to the front of the line for service, right? If I'm in the cafeteria and I'm saying, hey, everybody have gotten served in here except for me, right? And people are coming around for seconds, and people that are behind me gets to come and stand in front of me. You can't say, hey, Mike, this cafeteria food is for everybody. I agree, June. Black folks in those days didn't give a damn about getting credit. They wanted what was owed to them. And we have lost that in our community through, right, integration. And I'm not anti-integration, because I understand the reason for integration, right? Segregation did not keep whites out of black spaces, right? Segregation kept blacks out of white spaces. But white people could come and go as they chose wherever they wanted to. And not only whites, but even those who were white adjacent, right? So if you were the model minority, right, like China, California had a huge Chinese population. Those Chinese people could come in, move in however they wanted to, right? Segregation was only to keep African Americans down, right? So the apartheid that we had in this country, the Civil Rights Act was to address that. It wasn't to address the Chinese people that was immigrants in California. It wasn't to even address the Mexicans, right, that was now Americans because the United States had taken over Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California. It wasn't to address them. It was only to address black people. That's it, right? And then it was convoluted to where you have Lester Maddox here saying, hey, why are you just focusing in on blacks? But let me let Jim Brown finish.
About all people.
Can I give you an answer?
Huh?
I think we understand the question.
Yeah.
Can I give you an answer? Do you mind?
Oh, go ahead. If you're ready, I'll give you time.
Okay, Governor. What I'm really saying is that there are some people that have suffered in this country, poor people generally, but let's say that we have various ethnic groups in this country that have attained a certain kind of equality. Black people are more or less, along with the Indians, on the last rung of the ladder. Can I finish, Governor?
Boy.
Can I finish? Okay, do you mind?
The governor
now,
said
what I'm really
fully
saying is that I feel that the way to bring about equality of black people in this system is
What
through
about
economic...
equality of white people? Now, I won't interrupt you every time you keep calling black people.
Well,
what about equality of all people?
If you interrupt me, Governor, I can't talk to you.
Well, if you're just going to talk about black people, don't include all people. I try to include all people. You're just interested in the black. Why don't you tell these people that in Atlanta, Georgia, where you keep talking about the South, that the percentage-wise, more black people are professional business people, industrial leaders,
Governor,
more of them in our state house elected officials than any other state in the country.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you?
Be all right, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. See, I'm not really here to fight with you. I'm only trying to have a discussion with you.
I'm not going to fight with you either.
And I'm trying to use the techniques.
There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there watching you, and I want you to be fair about all people, not just black people. We got a lot of people in this country.
I can understand that, but you do know I have a reputation, right? And I saw
I don't
you.
know about it.
I saw
Tell
you.
me what your reputation is.
I saw
now.
you bring that state trooper back there, you know, behind the curtain. I know you brought him back there for a reason. But that's not my purpose tonight.
Here you go trying.
That is not my purpose
Well, you let
tonight.
me tell you this.
Would you like to join this conversation?
No, I'm going to say this now.
Would you like to join this conversation?
I would let. Why is it coming apart?
Let me say this, Mr.
Would you let Dick talk a little
Well, I've got to say this. No, I'm going to let him talk.
See,
right
before
now.
I got on this
Because I got a
you
state
wouldn't
trooper
talk,
like
would you?
all the other governors in the country carry one, and they require it in the state governments that the governors have security personnel.
You didn't get them because
so
you
I
knew I
carry
was
one
here,
of them. I didn't even know you would be here. It was a surprise when I came here tonight and found you would be here.
Wait.
I've never traveled anywhere in the United States since I've been governor. No other governors travel without one security personnel. Some of them have 3 and 4. I carry one man as an aide, not as security.
Lester say, I ain't no punk bitch.
Governor Mattis, could
Are you afraid because I came up here with an aide?
I've forgotten what my voice sounds like. I would like to say, Governor, I don't want you to create the impression that you were trapped in any sense tonight. I mean, it's been known for some days that Mr. Brown is going to be here. We didn't actually trap you, did we, into coming in?
Well, I want you to know that I didn't know he was going to be here, but it wouldn't make no difference because you invited me and I accepted the invitation.
Yes.
But he said something about I know his reputation. I don't know Jim Brown. Who is Jim Brown?
The video is gonna end in a moment here, and I'm gonna end in a moment here. I'm gonna wrap it up with this right here. All right. For one, we know who Jim Brown is in 2025. I am almost certain that the governor of Georgia, the great football state of Georgia, knew who Jim Brown was in 1968. I'm gonna call BS on that. Right. The second thing that I want to point out in this video is. As accomplished as Jim Brown was, right, and as physically imposing as Jim Brown is, right, that with the authority of the state behind him, there is little respect given to the greatness of Jim Brown. Like this is Hall of Fame Jim Brown. This isn't like 1990s. We think he's a Hall of Famer, right? Jim Brown pretty much is a Hall of Famer from the time he stepped on the football field, right? But behind the authority of the state, Lester Maddox can keep saying, well, why don't you be fair to all people, right? This should be for all Americans. And despite the fact, this is 100% black Americans are still stuck in an apartheid, right? There isn't a question that is even an apartheid. This is 1968. There are colonies that are still being freed from apartheids around the world. Like this is not something that's unusual. That's sure they don't have social media. But all the civil rights leaders in these different countries are talking, right? I mean, you can just go through and look at independence from Brazilian. No way I want to go for my birthday. Independence from British colonies, right? And just check the dates. A lot of those dates are in the 60s. Some of them are even into the 70s, right? So Jim Brown is here and he's speaking to like, hey, there's an apartheid. There's a balance that's due to black Americans. And Lester Maddox is just as on code in 1968 as, excuse me for not having the House Rep name from the video we played about 4 weeks ago, right? Where they have diluted the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and they have added in Title VII, right? Which is more than just blacks, right? It's including women, handicap, other things, right? And then that birth Title IX, which is what a lot of the colleges use now, even to this day. So I like to bring out a lot of these older videos sometimes so we can actually see in real time what we're dealing with, because most of us as blacks, we're not dealing with the conservative party, right? But I really like to point out that a lot of what we're dealing with is very similar to the language that we get in the Democratic Party, right? And we're getting it from people that look like us. And that's a huge danger, right? It's not coming from a Lester Maddox. It's obvious when Lester says it. But now we're getting a lot of the same language, right? From people who look just like us. And we need to be able to recognize that language, recognize that they are on code. And at minimum, right, if you can't defeat them, right, and they're not going to let you speak, which is currently the problem that we have most of the time when we try to engage with individuals. Matter of fact, one of the comments that I saw down here, let me see if I can find it. It was actually profound. Something that we need to recognize. It's not going to pull it right now. But the comment was along the lines of, there was like, it's hard to win an argument against an intelligent person. It is impossible to win an argument against a stupid person. And we got to understand that a lot of these conversations, we got to stop arguing. We need to have this information in front of us. We need to know what we're up against, what we're fighting against, so we can understand what we're fighting for, which is still, right, remedy from the apartheid that happened in this country. Right now, they're giving everything that they want to one another. They've created ICE where they can federalize hundreds of thousands of unqualified individuals that look like them, give them federal jobs, give them federal protection from the job, give them federal benefits for those jobs, right? Do illegal things that they're probably not going to be prosecuted for, by the way, in the future, and have those benefits in the future. We need to understand what's going on so we can start trying to say, all right, what programs can we create for ourselves? What place in the government could we all be as black American men in this country, right? And that's pretty much all I got tonight, man. Hope y'all enjoyed the video, man. Again, I love these old videos. I'm going to bring these up every week, every Wednesday. I'm going to bring up some old video, try to relate it to what's going on currently. I love these things. History is my jam, man. I love studying, what has happened before us and just seeing how moronic we are as a community and society of just things that we just haven't changed and refuse to change. I appreciate it, Kevin. So I appreciate you guys, tuning in. I have another one next week. I found Dick Cavett. I'm going through a lot of his old videos. I had Troy Hoffman on last week. So I'm trying to find some of the older ones. A lot of the ones from like the 30s and 40s just aren't clear enough. They haven't cleaned them up enough, or at least they haven't uploaded them to YouTube. But I'm finding a lot of ones from the civil rights era, which if we stop calling it the civil rights era and we actually called it what it is, which is the ending of the apartheid in America, I think it provides a lot of perspective. One of the greatest things that was ever given to me was when I listened to, I'm almost certain it was Dr. Tommy Curry, but he described the transatlantic slave trade. He said, hey, if you stop looking at it as commerce, and if you actually look at it as a world war against the Confederation of the Gold Coast countries, right? If you understand it as a world war and that you are prisoners of war, he was like, it kind of changes your perspective of everything that happens. Dr. Amos. You know, I'm gonna write that down, man, because when I log out, it's gonna take that off. Matter of fact, I'll just take a picture of it. Him, Dr. Henry Clark too. I figured that a lot of guys already looked at a lot of the Dr. Henry Clark, but you're right, Dr. Amos Wilson, definitely some of the older ones, man. Matter of fact, I'll pull it up this weekend. I'll go through it, and I appreciate you guys coming in, man, and just, you know, looking at these old videos, rejogging our memories, and kind of making sure that we understand that most of us, as top third of black men, upwardly mobile, most of us understand, you know, history a little bit better than others, a little bit more educated than others. Like, for us to really get an understanding of where we come from and make sure that we're, you know, make sure that we're not becoming revolutionaries and running out here in the streets protesting when we need to be think tanks for a lot of these problems. But that's all I got tonight, man. I appreciate you guys coming in. And, hey, man, holla at your boy.